You're listening to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast, your podcast for escaping life's monotony, indulging in your wildest travel fantasies, and discovering the constant beauty of this ever-changing world. On this week's episode, Allie shares all about her family trip to Texas. Welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We are your navigators, Allison
and Regan. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. And today we have a very special guest, a very, very, very special guest. You have no idea what's coming at you today. But before we get to our special guest, who will be presenting on a topic near and dear to our United States of America, Allie, go ahead and tell us about our social media.
All right, keep it short and sweet because I'm so excited for this very special guest to be on our podcast tonight. But as usual, you can check us out on social media. Our Instagram is at WanderlustingWives. X or Twitter, I still don't know what to call it, but whatever you call it these days. You can find us at Wanderlust Wives, Facebook, Wanderlusting Wives Podcast. Then if you're interested in emailing us, giving us some feedback, want to be a guest on the podcast, our email is wanderlustingwives@gmail.com. And I have to do a shameless plug. If you're enjoying our podcast, please feel free to give us 5 stars, hopefully 5 stars, hope you like it. Or 4 stars, whatever platform you're on. Give us all the stars possible. Leave us a review. We'd love to hear from all of you.
And speaking of stars, we have quite the star for you for our guest today. You know her and you love her. And, well, that's kind of all you need to know. Allie is actually going to be our, it's almost like a staycation, where it's like you're not really going on vacation, you're staying home, but you're doing fun things. It's like Allie's always on our podcast, but today she's going to be in the spotlight talking all about her trip that she just went on this summer to Texas, right here in the United States of America. So Allie, I would love to start by just kind of talking about where you went specifically and when and with who, the who, what, when, where, why of your trip.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's truly an honor. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, you can find us at Wanderlusting Wives. No, okay. We already did that spiel. Anyways, so I'm super excited to be on the podcast. I feel like it's few and far between that we get a chance to just be the two of us. So this is super exciting.
Yeah.
But without further ado, Texas. So we went at the end of July for about a week into the first week of August. And my parents, my younger brother, and my husband, we all went to Texas and flew into Houston to get us started. And then we went to San Antonio, Austin, and then Dallas. So we hit up the East Coast of Texas. That seems to be where all the action is. I had not been to the western part of Texas, so if you're from there, I'm sorry if there's tons of things to do there. I have not ventured out there, but we did rent a car so we could drive ourselves to those 4 cities. So starting in Houston, surprisingly, I was prepared for extreme heat the whole entire time. But starting in Houston, we actually had like 80 degrees and it was raining. And I'm like, what is going on here? This is supposed to be hot in Texas. But boy, did it get hot later. So as we made our way through the different cities, next up was San Antonio. It felt like it got a little bit warmer. And then in Austin and Dallas, it was very hot. Our last day, the temperature on the car was reading 106 degrees Fahrenheit.
Woo.
So, yeah, from
hot.
starting at 80 degrees in Houston and then ending the trip in Dallas at 106 degrees was quite the difference. And it felt like it was just hot air constantly blowing on you. There was no breeze. That was cool and refreshing. So if you are going to go to Texas, maybe don't go in July or August. The weather is nice. It's just very, very hot. And it's not very forgiving either.
To jump in here, what is the Texas, not climate, but like environment like? Like, how in New York you have like, you've got Letchworth, where it's like canyons and trees, and then there's like mountains in certain parts of the country. What is Texas like from an environmental standpoint that is like maybe making it so hot? Does it have anything to do with that, maybe?
The parts that we were in were flat. Now, like I said, I can't speak for the rest of Texas. Maybe there's mountains there. That would be really cool too. But the parts that we were in were very flat, farmland in between each of the big cities. And then just when you're in the big cities, you're on hot pavement, no shade, skyscrapers in some of them, depending on where you are. But I remember we are in the San Antonio River Walk, and you would think, oh, we're on like a little river. It might be a little bit cooler. Yeah, still no breeze there either. So even when you were by some water, it was still sweltering hot, it seemed
Yeah.
like.
Now, I'm curious, how did you get to choose this particular trip for your family?
Yeah, so this was my dad's idea. We have this goal in mind to reach all 50 states. And then my dad, Nate, my husband, for those of you who are new here, and then myself, all have a goal of going to all 30 of the baseball stadiums. And two of the stadiums are in Texas. And yes, we did get to go to both of them. So keep checking them off the list. I'm up to 20 now. So getting
Out of how
closer.
many?
30. So we're almost there.
Ooh, 2/3. You got this.
Yes. So that was exciting. Otherwise, I don't know that I would necessarily seek out Texas. It was a great time, and obviously I'll get into more details with that, but it's not really a destination that was like, oh, I really need to go there, like Hawaii would be per se. But I think it's a really great destination. It's a massive state, so there's lots to see, lots to do. So like I said, maybe not a destination at the top of my list, but definitely worth checking out, especially if you get some ideas from listening to this episode.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, sorry, I kind of interrupted there. You were talking through like what you were going to do in all the different cities, so I want to give you the floor to talk about everything that you did across Texas.
All right, I made sure I was writing notes down and I made sure to get all the food details for you because I knew that was going to be
Woot
a
woot!
big
I know
deal.
there's some good barbecue coming for
Yes.
us.
So, should I leave out all the food details or do you want to know them as I go through?
Let's do it this way. Let's do like the things to do in the cities, and then let's do food and have that be its own shining moment.
Okay. So starting off in Houston, so we stayed in Airbnbs the whole time, which was really nice. I know they're kind of getting a bad rap in the past few years. I don't know why. Maybe the prices after COVID are turning people away. I don't know. But we still enjoy being in Airbnbs. So we stayed in Airbnbs the whole time, and I cannot remember the exact neighborhood that we were in Houston, but it was near a bakery, which we'll talk about later. I'll save it. Um, but yes,
Intrigue.
but there was also a farmer's market across the street from the bakery, and that was really cool. So something that surprised me, and maybe you're like, "Duh, Allison, of course," but it was the amount of Spanish that was spoken in Houston specifically. I felt like I was in a whole nother country. It was insane. So at the farmer's market, they were greeting you and speaking to you in Spanish first, and now I'll have a fun story I'll share here in a moment, but my mom has dark curly hair and like an olive skin tone, so I think they kind of thought we were maybe Spanish, or just because we were in Texas that they assumed we knew Spanish. Um, so we would kind of just look at them like, "Oh, we don't really know what you're saying." At the farmer's market, it was more so not really food that's like grab and go, but like vegetables, different fruits that you could try, spices, couple of like clothing vendors and stuff like that. So that was really nice. It was outdoors, so weather permitting, you may or may not want to go there. I cannot remember the exact name of it, but it's across from the bakery that I'm going to talk about later. So if you go to the bakery, just go right across the street. You just walk right across and go to the farmer's market. So that was really cool that we got to experience that. It was, like I said, almost being like in another country. Then you have to realize, like, wait, no, we're actually in the United States right now. We're just so close to Mexico, Central America. So the Spanish language almost seemed like it was the first language there in Houston. So be prepared with maybe a couple of words if you are going to be going to Houston, just so you have an idea of just saying hello, thank you, or help me, or whatever you may think you need. Just have a few words on hand. Some of them do speak English, so you're not going to be completely lost if you're there, but just come prepared for that. We also did the NASA Space Museum, which I have an interest in space, and the museum was really cool. It was not your typical museum, though, and I still can't quite figure out if I really loved it or I'm just still confused by it. So like you first walk in and you go through these like turnstiles when you scan your ticket, and it's just one giant open space, and there's just like smaller exhibits out to the sides. So at first we walked in and we're like, this isn't it, right? There's like more to this than just the gift shop and like a cafe and a NASA museum sign, right? So then you have to like walk in further. Um, and it was quite busy the day we went, but it was raining. So I think that had to do with the lines and the amount of people that were there. But they have a really cool section with like Mars and things that they've been able to do on Mars and what they hope to do in the future with exploring Mars. So that was really interesting to read that. They had a lot of stuff for kids, of course. You got to see like where they would sleep in the space station, where they'd go to the bathroom. Some guy was taking a picture of the toilet in space, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's important for you. I'm not sure.
That's a journey.
Yeah, so they had a lot of cool facts about that. Um, it is, if you're into space, worthwhile. If you're maybe kind of just like space is cool, but you're not like super interested in it, maybe it's not worthwhile for you. But they do have like different hands-on experiences that you can have that are free. There are a lot of free things that free, I should say, they're included with your ticket. So I believe it was like 25 or $30 for an adult. So a little bit more on the expensive side, but a lot of things were quote unquote included in the price of admission. So we spent maybe 2 hours there and felt like that was plenty enough time there. So then after that, we went to the Astros versus Dodgers game. So Houston Astros. There's a space theme in Houston, of course, and that carries over to the sports teams. And that was really cool. I really enjoyed going to a new stadium, of course, but the Hispanic culture was like so present there. There were rows of people in front of us, and maybe it was just our section, I don't know, but they would be like with their aunts and uncles and like nephews and nieces and cousins. It was just like a whole entire like row of the whole family, and I just could see like how important being together as a family was. So I thought that was really nice to
Hmm.
see that family dynamic even at the baseball stadium. The only reason why I knew they were aunts and uncles because they were saying Tio and Tia, so my Spanish knowledge is kind of good, but not really, not much past that. Um,
You picked it up.
yeah. So that was really nice. And they're like greeting each other with kisses, which was like, okay, I'm trying to watch this batter, but like this is also cool to see, your culture at play here firsthand. So that was really nice to see so much of their culture, even present at something as simple as a baseball game. And it was such a fun game. I'm going to be like a little bit of a baseball nerd here, but the Dodgers were the away team, and the section that we were in, like so many people were Dodgers fans and they kept saying like, let's go Dodgers. And then the game was tied at the end, and then the Astros had a walk-off home run. So like the stadium was electric, and then walking out of the stadium back to the car, people were chanting, let's go Astros. And it was just such a fun environment to be in. And I haven't been at a baseball game that exciting in a really long time. So it was really cool to be a part of that experience and just to see such a riveting baseball game, because I think baseball can get a bad rap of like 9-man stand around, no one's really doing anything, and that was
Yes,
yeah.
yes, it does.
So yeah, that was really cool to be part of such an electric baseball game.
Oh, that is awesome. Oh my gosh, just knowing how big of baseball fans you have in your family, that, like, sounds like the best Bensley day ever.
It was really great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was really fun. So my little story here, I guess I'll spill the beans a little bit on the bakery, because it goes along with Houston here. But like I said,
Spill some
yeah,
crumbs,
yeah,
as it were.
yeah, exactly. Like Hansel and Gretel, I'll give you a little trail of crumbs. Um, but the bakery across from the farmer's market was called El Bolillo, so Bolillo. And I had to do some research on that because I'm like, what does that even mean? I do not know that word in Spanish. Apparently, it's another word for bread. I'd always use pan for bread. Thought that's what
Oh,
the only word was. Apparently not. So it's a cute little bakery, very busy, and you get this giant like pizza size, you know those metal like circle pizza platters that they would have like at a pizza shop? Well, you get one of those and you just start putting all of your goodies on there, and then you bring it up to the cash register and check out. They have things like churros, cakes, bread, of course. Um,
this sounds like my heaven.
yeah, it was phenomenal. They have a website if you wanna check out all the different things that they have. Specialty
Mhm.
drinks as well. It was so, so good. The churros, this is maybe a gringo in me, but the churros were, like, my absolute favorite part. They had just regular churros, and then they had ones filled with caramel.
Oh.
Both were so good. I wish I could eat another one right now. It is so worthwhile, and it's pretty inexpensive as well. We got, like, maybe 5 or 6 things, and it was less than $20, so I think that's pretty reasonable for a bakery. But the
In the United States, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
funny part of the story is we went there, 2 days, 2 mornings in a row, and the first morning, we were just kinda, like, lost. We're like, "Wow, there's so much going on." We don't even know that we're supposed to put, like, our goodies on a tray. They're just, like, on the counter with the tongs or whatever. So we eventually figured that out, and then we're like, we have to come back the next day. So of course we did, but this time it was just me, my mom, and my dad. And like I said earlier, my mom has olive skin and curly dark hair. She's Italian. She's not Hispanic by any means. But people mistake her for being Hispanic. So the cashier was like just talking to her in Spanish, and my mom probably knows like "Hola." That's probably about it. Sorry, mom, if you know more and I'm not giving enough credit. But her Spanish knowledge is very limited, okay? And I was trying to tell my parents like how much it costs because they were speaking to us in Spanish, and I was like, "Oh, it's like $24 and like 85 cents or something." And they're like, "Okay, okay, here's the card." And then the lady was asking my mom, "Is that your husband? Is that your esposo?" And I was like saying like, "Yes," and they're like kind of confused. My dad's
Oh,
just
no.
a white man. They're just kind of confused, whatever. So then I was trying to explain to them like, oh, like I'm their daughter and like, my parents are married, whatever. And the lady was like, oh, okay. She was starting to understand. And then she was just like starting to go on like conversation because I was speaking Spanish back to her. But then I was like, oh no, this is past my knowledge of Spanish. So I was like, oh, I only know like a little bit of Spanish. So it was really nice. Like she slowed it down. I could tell she was speaking like simpler, like basic Spanish to me instead. So that was really nice. And she was telling me about how, like, when she first came to the US, her son knew English, but she didn't. So her son was teaching her English. She was telling me all this in Spanish, so I could, like, understand that. But I was proud of myself for knowing what they were saying in Spanish and being, like, a translator for
Yeah.
my parents. But it was just so funny. The amount of times people thought my mom was Hispanic was insane.
Oh my gosh. Go you though. I mean, like that's really cool too because I know that that's part of like what you want to incorporate into your career and you've
Mhm.
had like a passion for that. So that's like really cool. Like there are so many aspects of that story. It's both hilarious that your mom keeps being mistaken for being Hispanic and also that you were able to kind of like be immersed in a situation like that. That See, this is why we travel even within our own country. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool, and just, like, to go off a little bit what you said there, like, with my career, wanting to be, like, an ESL teacher, just realizing, like, how many students do have to translate for their parents when they first come into this country, and, like, they might not even know the words that we're trying to use with them because it's maybe above their developmental levels or their reading levels. So it was really cool to kind of step back a little bit and kind of be like vulnerable and make mistakes and tried to speak to them, even though we were kind of understanding each other, also kind of confused at the same time. So it was cool to step in someone else's shoes essentially and see what that was like while
Yeah.
also testing my own Spanish knowledge.
Yeah, and that's right in our country.
Yeah.
Like, you can immerse yourself in a different culture in our own country, like, because our country has just become like a melting pot for so many different cultures. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. But moving on, so we started in Houston and then we headed towards San Antonio. And the one thing on my list that was an absolute must was going to Buc-ee's. Have you heard of Buc-ee's before?
They're opening one. Okay, hang on. Pause for a Bucky's little moment. So Bucky's is, if you don't know, well, Allie, you tell what Bucky's is, but I am excited. And before you know what Bucky's is, I want you to know that I am so excited because one is going in along my route when I drive north. So now that you know how excited I am, you probably think it's like the equivalent of Disney World. But Allie, please tell us what Bucky's
Okay,
is.
so the way I would kind of explain it to other people is like if Walmart or Target had a gas station. So there are,
And people love it.
oh,
Oh, they love it. There's Bucky's swag everywhere.
yeah.
Somebody was walking into Publix yesterday with a Bucky's bag. People love
Yeah, and
Bucky's.
it's not just, I guess I can't speak for all of Texas, but it's not just people in who are visiting Texas, but people in Texas love to go there. And from what I've heard, they go there and get like their snacks for road trips as well as like a tourist destination. So
Yeah.
it was off of the highway, and there was a line from multiple entrances in Bucky's to get in to the parking lot. Not just into the store, but multiple lines to get into the parking lot. Now, ours was a little bit of a special situation because like half the parking lot was under construction. But when we passed other ones, they were also extremely busy too. So there are hundreds of gas pumps. I'm not even exaggerating, hundreds at some of the locations. Not all of them have hundreds, but the bigger ones have hundreds of gas pumps. And inside, there is everything Bucky's. You want a Bucky's cooler? You got it. You want a Bucky like adult onesie pajama set thing? You got it. A bathing suit? Sure thing. Bucky's homemade jerky? Yep, got that too. So anything you want, a live laugh love sign? Stop at Bucky's. So there is everything imaginable in Bucky's. And I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself here in each of these destinations, but some of the best barbecue I had in Texas was in Bucky's. So I like to annoy my family the whole trip, but every like 5 minutes they kept coming out with fresh brisket and they kept saying, fresh hot brisket on the board. And they would chop it up fresh on the board for you, and fresh chopped brisket sandwich or brisket, like a slab of brisket on a roll. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Maybe my standards are low. That was the first barbecue I had in Texas, but the bar was set really high after that.
Wow. It's like the hot dogs at the gas stations in Iceland, except this sounds more like adequately advertised. Like it's good versus the hot dogs in Iceland were like, what is happening?
Yeah, it was so good. Maybe I'm, like I said, maybe I'm overhyping it. It was the first barbecue I had, but I had yet to find another brisket sandwich that was that good. So if you're looking for a good
Dang.
brisket sandwich, don't miss out
Mm.
on Bucky's. And because everyone needs a Bucky's swimsuit and towel and live, laugh, love
The
sign. So,
onesie.
yeah, the
I
onesie
mean,
too.
yeah.
So, they are also
As
known.
long as it has the Bucky's hood with like the little beaver or
Yes,
badger or whatever
that's
there.
right. It is a beaver, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. Pretty sure? I don't know. Now I'm questioning my animals.
That would
I
make
think
sense
it's
because of the
Bucky's
buck
beaver.
teeth.
Yeah, Bucky's beaver. That would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, they have like jerky. They're known for their jerky, their barbecue, of course. Yeah, and just having a bunch of crap you don't need with Bucky's stuck on it. Like their little mascot is all over it, but
Sounds about right.
yeah, it was wonderful. Oh, and I almost forgot. Some of the best bathrooms in a gas station ever. And there was a line for the women's bathroom, but it was like 20 seconds long maybe because they had so many stalls. So like you walk in and usually The stalls, are like cut off on the top and bottom, and there's probably like a big enough slit so you can see everyone going to the bathroom. Um, they're basically pointless, right? So the ones at Buc-ee's were like basically fully enclosed. They had like a nice door that would lock, and above it, it almost seemed like Monsters Inc. It had like a little light, and then it was green if it was open, red if it was in use, and then in the middle, so like the bathrooms were all like around the outside of the bathroom there, the stalls. In the middle, they just had like a ton of sinks too, so you didn't have to wait to wash your hands. You barely had to wait to use the bathroom. It was spotless. No one was getting feisty in there waiting. It was wonderful. So go to Bucky's.
Hey, you cannot. I'm sorry, but if you were a woman going on a road trip in the United States, you know this pain too of like, if there is a bathroom, it is either not clean or there's only two stalls and one of them's out of order and it doesn't have toilet paper. Like, and also then you have the issues of the doors with the slits where everybody can see what you're doing. By the way, Jerry Seinfeld does a bit on it and it is hilarious. But I'm convinced the bathrooms were designed by men. However, this sounds like every woman's dream bathroom scenario.
It was a
Lovely.
dream. I would go back there just for the bathroom.
Book a flight.
Yeah, just for the bathroom.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's
yeah, it
awesome.
was incredible. Even more reason to come visit you now since, well, I guess it's on the way, but like I could drive down to you now.
You could drive. It's not open yet, but it's on Google saying coming soon, even though there was no evidence of it, but I'm holding to it.
Yeah, they are plastered everywhere, so I'm excited for
Yeah.
you. That's very great. Yeah.
Thanks. It's why we moved to
Oh,
Florida.
I bet. It's a really big selling point. But eventually, after our like hour venture at Bucky's, we made it to San Antonio. And honestly, there's not a ton to do in San Antonio, but we made the most of our time there. Starting off in Market Square, and that had shopping like inside. They had like stalls that maybe you would see like on a cruise port. They're all selling like the same trinkets but right next to each other. I never understood how that worked out. um
Yeah.
but yeah, they had things like if you want a little uh like poncho for your dog, they had one of those. You wanted a hat with Texas on it, they have some of those. You want a wooden little frog noise maker, they have that too.
But do they have one with the Bucky's logo?
Unfortunately, they were fresh out of those there, but maybe next time. So they had like stalls like that, but they also had some like street vendors too outside. So there was like two separate sections. So more of like touristy kind of items, and then things like if you wanted a soda or something, they have a stand for that. If you wanted to ride a mechanical bull, you could do that too. They also were playing live music there. They had restaurants along the streets. So that was really nice. A little bit of everything there. We did end up eating there, but I will refrain from sharing that until it's time.
Till you get the green light from me.
Yes. And then in the evening, we went to San Fernando Cathedral, which is kind of like in the city square area. And they have a really, really cool projection show that projects onto the cathedral every day except for Mondays from or starting at 9 and another one starting at 9:30, and they're about 25 minutes long. But definitely get there early if you're going to go. It's free. And they have like a little open square type area that have some seats there, but they fill up very fast. So I'd recommend bringing your own chair if possible, or standing. That's what we did. We ended up standing. It was totally fine, but go a little bit more towards the back so you can see the whole cathedral, and people holding up their phones are not in the way. People's heads are not in the way. And the 24-minute show is projections going through like a little bit of the history of like Texas. There's reference to other countries there, and there's also some music that plays along with it. So a really cool free experience. Again, every day except for Mondays. Show times are at 9 and 9:30. There's no one even there. I don't even know how it turns on, but no one is there running it. It's just 9 o'clock it starts. The next one starts at 9:30. So get that early and to bring a chair unless you're willing to stand. But that was really cool. I wish I could
Mm.
show pictures through this recording, but you can't. But it was really cool and colorful and very well done.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you find that?
We were just hanging out at the Airbnb, like, okay, what can we do tonight? Like, what's going on tonight in San Antonio? And my dad had found it just by a simple Google search, and apparently a lot of other people did too, because there were a ton of people there. So yeah, it wasn't originally on our
Awesome.
radar. Excuse me, it wasn't originally on our radar. But yeah, last minute thing, and it was worthwhile. So definitely check that out if you
Yeah, leave
can.
room for spontaneity.
Yep. And
Awesome.
it's free, so can't complain about that. If it was terrible, it was
Ooh,
free.
no.
So and then the very anticipated Alamo was the next day. And if you have been to the Alamo before, you might have been surprised by the size. And everything's bigger in Texas but the Alamo. Uh,
Its own Alamo is up to
Bucky's, I'll give you
size.
this for reference. Bucky's was bigger than the Alamo, okay? For
Ooh,
size reference, okay? So yeah, the
dang.
Alamo was cool. I have, learned about it in history books, whatever. We did get to go inside, and that was nice and small, but cool nonetheless. I think it's worthwhile if you're in the area. It's cool to say you saw the Alamo, go inside, learn a little bit about the history of it. Um, but yeah, if you're not there, I would not fly to San Antonio just for the Alamo, unless you're like a super diehard history fan and that's like your dream. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, cool, but
Mhm.
maybe not worth all the hype. Hopefully that's not offensive, but I think it was a little.
That's part of the National Historic, national. Oh shoot, what's the National Park System? That's the
Yes.
one I was looking for.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So cool. There was also a lot of construction going around, like in the
Mm.
Alamo and then on the street where the Alamo was. So they're supposed to be building some kind of park there. So that might help make it a
Hmm.
little more
Oh,
enticing and
interesting.
exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, check it out. This might be worthwhile.
You sold
Yeah.
us.
But yeah, moving on. After that, we did the river walk. So the day before, we had just like walked the San Antonio River walk, and then the next day we did one of the boat tours, which was really cool. It was about 30 minutes long, narrated, and it was a fairly small boat. There was maybe 15 of us on there, so it was nice that you weren't crammed in there on a very hot day. So 30 minutes. I can't remember how much it cost, but I'm sure you can find that online. And it's just a guided tour. They take you along the river. They tell you some of the history of it. You can get some really cool pictures. And it was a nice way to see the river walk because, like I said, we had walked it before, and that was nice. But it was nice to be able to sit there and then say, like, oh, like this is what happens here, and people get married here, and look up at this building. It's like an optical illusion. It seems like it's going to fall over on us. Like things you wouldn't necessarily notice just by walking on the river walk. Maybe you would if you had like
Mm.
some kind of self-guided tour that you might have printed off, but we were just walking just to see it, and then to actually go on the river was a cool perspective to have with that guided tour.
Yeah. Guided tours. I totally agree with you too. Of like, you can walk around, you can learn as much as you want about a place, and like that's cool. That's great. It's gonna save you a lot of money. But like having a guide tell you about things, and like especially if they're from that area, of just like tell you about what you're seeing and what you're looking at and why it's significant to them. Like they might have a piece in that. There's just like I'll pay for it every time. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And like I said, it was very hot the further we got away from
Yeah.
Houston. So we were looking for things to do inside after the river walk. And there was actually an escape room near our Airbnb called the Great Room
Ooh.
Escape. And I had never done an escape room. So out of the group, my dad was the only one that had done an escape room. So my mom, my brother, Nate, and I, we had not done an escape room before. So we're like, okay, maybe. We don't really know what's going on, but sure, we'll try it out. um, So we went, and he doesn't really, the guy like didn't really give us a lot of like directions, just kind of like escape. And ours was like a bomb theme. We had to deactivate the bomb before it went off. Obviously, not a real bomb. If you've never done an escape room, they're not actually going to try to kill you in there. Um, so like you just like he just closes the door and he's like, "Okay, here you go," and we're like, what?" So thankfully, my dad had done that before. She's like, "Okay, start feeling things on the wall. What can move? Can this thing open? Is there a code that we can figure out for this and this?" So that was really cool. Once we were like done staring at each other, like, what's happening? And we did actually escape. So yeah,
Nice.
that was very thrilling. If you maybe are like claustrophobic, maybe don't do that because you are like locked in there. Um, so take that with a grain of
Yeah.
salt.
Yep.
It wasn't like a small like confined space, but there was like the one that we did. There was a smoke machine in there, and it's dark, so it could kind of be like a little disorienting or scary. Maybe not do it with young kids. Maybe just use a different theme. I don't know. But yeah, it was nice. It was inside, fun, something different, and we got to escape. So
Yeah.
that was the best part.
There you go.
And then we did at nighttime, we walked around the river walk again. Not the whole thing because it's like a couple miles. But it was so cool to see it at night because we had only done it during the daytime, and there was live music. People were sitting out on the river walk, like at the restaurants. There was lights lit up in the trees. So definitely recommend going to some places like that, like during the day and at night, because it's a completely different scene just in a span of a couple of hours. So, highly recommend the river
Mm.
walk during the day and especially at night. And some of the places even had misters outside, so that was really nice.
Ooh, oh, they are smart people. Mhm.
Yes, it was wonderful.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, that moves us to Austin now. So this was the one that I think I was looking forward to the most, just because I had heard so much about it compared to the other cities. And Austin did end up being my favorite city. One of the things that we did when we first got there was we went to McKinney Falls, and it's $6 per person, and they have swimming holes there. There's hiking, and it's about 20 minutes from downtown Austin. So if you don't have a car, you could probably Uber there, but it's not, within walking distance if you're only relying on being in the city the whole time. But it was really nice. People could jump off some of the rocks at some of the swimming holes. There was no dogs allowed in the water, so if you're going to bring your dog, can probably only be on the hiking trails. But definitely bring water because not a lot of the swimming holes have shade around them. So it got really hot pretty quickly because you're just kind of like out in the open. And you really, really want to make sure you have water with you. So, I mean, that's just a
Mm.
tip when you're hiking in general, bring water, but especially when it's really hot. So, $6 per person for that. And like I said, about 20 minutes from downtown Austin. So check that out, but be prepared.
Did you or anybody with you, like, feel dehydrated at any point? And if so, like, what do you do in that moment? Because Texas is one of those places that I feel like you could get dehydrated very easily. So, like, how did you combat that altogether?
Yeah, so no one said they were dehydrated. Maybe they were, we just didn't realize it. But we made sure that we each drank at least one Gatorade, like when we came in at the end of the day, or we brought them in the car with us, like in a cooler, just so we were getting some kind of electrolytes back in us. And we did have reusable water bottles with us. So we were just trying to stay on top of drinking, and then drinking water too. Like, it's fine if you want to have like an alcoholic beverage from time to time, but like make sure you're also drinking water
Yeah.
and staying hydrated because it gets hot really fast. And you get sweaty, and especially if you're out there hiking, of course, like you're more at risk for dehydration. So
Yep.
make sure you're prepared. If you don't want to drink Gatorade, have some kind of, I don't know, liquid IV, some kind of like electrolyte, something to
Yeah.
help you stay hydrated. And there's plenty of grocery stores within driving distance, so that shouldn't be a problem. No Buc-ee's in downtown Austin, but there were other gas stations that if you needed to get something like that, they should have that available for you.
Great.
So yeah, good question. And then it's not Texas without a little bit of line dancing. So
Oh,
we went
please. Oh, I can't wait to hear
to
this.
well, it's not that crazy. But we went to a place called the Broken Spoke. And when you walk in, I felt like we were like completely out of place. It seemed more of where like locals come to hang out, and they have people singing live music. We had just come at the tail end of that, and then during the week they do offer line dancing classes. Not every day though, and we unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I'm not sure. They were not happening that
Oh,
day.
come on. I really wanted to hear the story end with like your dad learning to do like some dance to some like, who's even like a Dolly Parton song or something. Like that's the story I want to hear. So Todd, announcement to you, you need to get back to Texas on a day that this is open.
Yeah, it was something that like would have been cool to see other people doing, but I'm like tap out at like the Cotton Eye Joe.
That's basically, you
So
know that one, you basically know all of them.
yeah. Or like with the Hannah Montana Hoedown Showdown. I could have done like some of that, but
Ah, uh-huh.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's really cool. The Broken Spoke, if you really want to get like into the live music and dancing scene of Austin, that would be a cool place to check out. They do have a cover charge, I think, starting at 9 o'clock. So just come prepared for that. And then you may have heard of this before, maybe not, but the Congress Ave Bridge has bats that come out at an insane amount per second. I think it's like somewhere like in the millions without how many bats come out at night. So you can stand on top of the bridge. There's like a sidewalk there, or you can go down. There are some stairs before the bridge. If you're going like in the direction of the Capitol building, I don't know if that's north, south, either west. So sorry, I'm kind of directionally challenged in that sense. But before the bridge, there's a set of stairs you can go down to like a little park. There's like a little lady with an ice cream cart and ringing her bell. It's kind of cute. But you can see the bats from there. They also, I saw some people in kayaks. They had boat tours that were going through there. So there's multiple ways for you to see the bats if that's something you're interested in. They do not come near you, so you're fine. Um, but yeah, they are coming out as early as 7:30 p.m. and usually go to about 9:45, 10 o'clock ish, maybe even later. So if you're interested in that, it is a little freaky. There's a ton of bats, but it is very cool. I've never seen so many bats in my life, and I don't think I ever care to see that many bats again. It was, like I said, kind of freaky, but really cool. And like, is this really happening? There are so many bats, and they just kept continuing to come out.
Wear a
So
poncho
I
if you want
recommend,
to. If you're
yeah,
worried about
yeah.
that.
That is a good point. I recommend going to see it down in the park area because you can kind of get a better view of them. We did start out at the bridge, and we were seeing like the tops of them, which was still cool, but it didn't really show you like how many bats there actually were. Like it was seemed like double once we got down to the park. So
Mm, that is a
some food for thought.
crazy, crazy phenomenon.
Yeah, it was really impressive. Honestly, it seemed like they were just like on an endless loop, but
Well, and the thing is like
they,
every night, it's like this
yeah.
is just like a staple of the city are these bats, and that's wild. It's like an uncontained zoo. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
seriously. They were so impressive, honestly. Also kind of grossed me out, but I'm glad I did it. It was cool. But yeah, then we had another day in Austin, and we went to the Zilker Botanical Gardens, and that is $8 per person. They were absolutely beautiful. They had like a Japanese garden area, and they had koi fish, and you could walk like on these stepping stones to get across like the little pond. There was like a little bee garden. There was a waterfall. There was one section where you could see a view of downtown Austin. So definitely worth the $8 in my opinion. It was a little bit more shaded than McKinney Falls, at least the part that we were in. So definitely check that out if you're looking for something to do
Mm.
that's close to the city, but you're not so far, like 20 minutes like you would be for McKinney Falls. So it was a nice break from all the city life we had been enjoying the past couple of days before that.
Awesome.
And then we went to the Continental Club at night, and they had live music every night. And at a certain time, they also have a cover charge. I think that also is at 9 or 9:30, I believe. But you do have to show your ID when you go in, so 21 or older. So be prepared for that. They do have, like I said, live music every night, starting sometimes at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, also starting at like 10 p.m. So if you want to get there a little bit early, if it's like a work night or something, they do have earlier show times, but they also have like 10 or 12
Mm.
at night. So a little bit of something for everyone. It is quite small, so they basically just have like a bar. They didn't even have like bar seating out because you're just standing there at the bar. And then they have a small little like bench area on the side, and then in the middle they had maybe 10 or so high top tables. They're not serving food either, so just drinks there. Some people were dancing, but there's not really a lot of space there. So just plan accordingly for that, but highly recommend going to the Continental Club for some really good live music.
Mm. You can't go wrong with live music. Ugh. And I love how much
Yeah,
you
especially in
enjoyed it
Texas.
on this trip. It's really cool.
Yeah, it was great. It was really, really cool to see that. And then, wrapping up the last part of our trip, we made our way to Waco, Dallas, Fort Worth
Ooh,
area. Um,
freaky.
so, yeah, so we went through the Baylor University. My brother and I are long gone out of college, but my family still enjoys looking at different universities while we're on vacation. So it was pretty much on the way. So we stopped through there and saw Baylor, very beautiful campus that is in Waco, Texas, though, in case you didn't know about that. And I know Regan will appreciate this, but we had to go to the Dr. Pepper Museum because my dad is a huge Dr. Pepper
Yes,
fan.
Ty!
Uh,
I'm so happy for you.
um, yeah, so we went to the Dr. Pepper Museum. That is also in Waco. And you get a free Dr. Pepper with admission. So
Wow.
worth the price. It is near the Magnolia Silos, whatever. We didn't go there, but the Magnolia Market with Chip and Joanna Gaines, their whole
Hmm.
setup over there. It's pretty close to that. So maybe if you're there, you can go pop on over to the Dr. Pepper Museum after that. I will say it is a lot of reading, and it is cool, but just be prepared to read a lot. Maybe if you're with young kids, wait till they get a little bit older so you're not having to read everything for
Huh.
them. There's not as much like interactive things. Now, I will say there's interactive stuff in the sense that you can create your own soda. And they had something called the Liquid Lab, which we didn't realize was for kids, but we went to it anyways. They have a show and they talk about carbonation, and then they did like the Mentos and the soda explosion kind of thing. So that was cool, but also like, oops, this is for kids.
Hey, be a kid sometimes. It's
um,
fine.
yeah, it was fine. They were welcoming everyone in, so we're just like, oh, like, yeah, it's for everyone, right? But yeah, there was like a lot of reading, and it's like a lot of the history of soda and obviously Dr. Pepper. So that was really cool. And like I said, the free Dr. Pepper with admission is also a hit. You can also get a discount on the Dr. Pepper like floats, like a root beer float. You can get a Dr. Pepper
Mm.
float. So that was cool too. We didn't get one of those, but the free Dr. Pepper was good. So yeah, something unique. Maybe not something you would necessarily seek out on your own, but if you're looking for something cool to do,
Yeah.
that was worthwhile.
It's
Yeah,
actually
that was really
shocking
cool.
to me that there's so much reading at a Dr. Pepper museum.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. It was like, oh wow, there's a lot to read
Yeah.
here.
Huh.
But yeah, there's a lot of cool history, and there was a whole floor and section of Dr. Pepper like around the world, so like what the
Oh,
soda cans
cool.
look like in like Asian countries or in South America. So
Yeah.
that's the part that I loved the
Yeah.
most.
Oh, that's very
So
cool.
yeah, that was cool. Yeah, it was a really cool museum. Unexpected, good time.
Yeah.
But then we did the Sundance Square. And this is in Fort Worth. So Fort Worth, the Dallas area, they're so close to each other. We did Sundance Square, and they have bars and live music. The night we went, I don't really know the genre of live music. It was just like a Elvis Prince wannabe screamer. I don't really know.
What a
I don't know how
description.
to.
That was a roller
Yeah.
coaster. Dang.
He was like dressed like Elvis, but was like playing like Prince, but also like screaming. And it was a weird experience, but there was a lot of bars nearby, and we went like on like a Wednesday night, so there wasn't really a lot going on as far as the bars and live music go. But I'm assuming on probably like Thursday, Friday, Saturday is probably a really cool place to be. They also have a ginormous like disco ball, like cowboy hat right by Sundance Square. So cool Instagram moment if you're interested
Ooh,
in
yes, please.
Instagram photos. Yeah. So that was really cool. And then the next day, we went to the stockyards in Fort Worth to see the cattle drive, and there was shopping, of course, some music and some food. And the cattle drive was kind of funny. So we were lined up on the sidewalk, and they're very strict about like no sitting on the sidewalks, no standing in the road to try to get a good video or picture, whatever, because these cattle have really long horns. They're long horned, right? So uh, they could probably kill you if they really wanted to.
Mm.
So I mean, they walk in a straight line. They're not really going too much off the path that they're following, but I'm imagining like probably 20, 30 cattle going by, and there's like 10. So it was kind of funny. It was very brief. They had some like horses guiding them down the road, and then a couple of cattle were behind, and then some other horses behind, and then like a guy doing like a lasso, little like demonstration. So that was cool. Like I said, were some shops nearby, and then after the cattle drive, I want to say it's like Fridays and Saturdays. Um, you have to look it up. Don't quote me on that, but they have a reenactment in like the shopping area of like cops and robbers kind of thing from like an old western. Um,
Oh.
and they do shoot off like blanks, so it can be quite loud and maybe a little bit alarming for the younger crowd. They do kind of do a good job of telling you like, okay, like maybe like plug your ears now because something's gonna happen. But yeah, just be like mindful of that if you have young ones or people who are sensitive to noise. That is a noisier experience.
Mm.
But it was cool to see that reenactment of the Wild Wild West.
Yeah. That's really popular along, like, Route 66 and stuff like that, like, all
Hmm.
of those, like, weird street theater things with guns and wenches and all the old-timey stuff, whatever they call them. Wenches is more of a Pirates of the Caribbean word, I guess. I don't know, but anyways, I digress.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then later that day, we went to the sixth floor museum at Dealey Plaza. So if you're not sure what that is, it's the JFK
So good.
Assassination Museum, which also has a lot of reading, but it is phenomenal. And a little eerie. There's like a part where you can see like where the gunman was, and then like they have like an X that marked like the spot on the street, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is kind of freaky. And then like we like drove like the road that he was on when he got assassinated, so that was ugh, kind of freaky, but also like, wow,
Yeah.
this is a really important part of history. And not to get too political, but we were there not that long after the
Oh,
assassination attempt on
yeah.
Trump. So it was like, ooh, this is hitting home like a little bit more. Like, this is still something that's a present day problem. So
Mm.
it was a little bit more eerie I think,
Yeah.
than maybe it usually was, but very, very informative and highly recommend going to that. It was worth all the reading for sure. No free Dr. Peppers there, but
Ah,
you know.
come on, JFK. Mm.
Yeah, you'd have to stop and wake up before.
That is an awesome museum. Oh, I'm so
um,
glad you got there. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was really good. And then, last but not least, before we get into all the food, we went to the Texas Rangers versus Red Sox game, and I'm a Yankees fan, so seeing the Red Sox was not so delightful, but it's okay. We were there for the Rangers anyways. And it was really cool because a couple weeks prior to that, here I am nerding out again, but they had the home run derby and the all-star game at the Globe Life Stadium where the Rangers play. So that was cool to have watched, the home run derby and the all-star game on TV, and then to be there a couple weeks later, like in person in the seats that everyone was there experiencing that for. And it's a newer stadium, so it was phenomenal. It was huge. That is one thing that is bigger in Texas. So if you're gonna go to one of the stadiums, definitely check out Globe Life to see the Texas Rangers. The stadium is phenomenal. The food is good. So yeah, definitely check that out. Now on to Regan's favorite part, unless you have something else you want to add.
No, I'm ready for food. I'm ready to hear all about the food.
Okay, so should we start in Houston? Do you just want to ask me questions about the food?
Well, what was the first of all, what is the food like in Texas? Like, I know we've always heard about like barbecue and stuff like that. Did you find that to be the case? But then also, I just want to hear about your highlights. Like,
Okay.
tell me what was good.
Yeah, so it's a lot of Tex-Mex, which can't complain about that. That was
Mm.
absolutely phenomenal, and I'll give you some specific names here in a minute. And then barbecue, of course. Bucky's is where it's at. No,
Woot woot!
yeah, no, Bucky's was really good. We mostly ate a lot of Tex-Mex because that's just what we
Why
really
not?
like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. um, so we went to in Houston. We went to Brothers Tacos, which was pretty good. I will say maybe you don't go there if you don't know a lot of Spanish. There was only one person there. Well, at least one person that was acknowledging us speaking in English. Um, and it's just you wait in a line outside, there's a line out the door for the tacos, and then you go, and it's almost like a Chipotle kind of idea of okay, tell me what you want at this station, and then this station and this station. So if you don't really know what it is, it's not labeled either. And they're speaking Spanish, and if you speak English to them, some of them might not know what you're saying. So come a little bit prepared. I think we were a little underprepared for that experience. So it's kind of overwhelming of we don't know what this is. They don't know what we're trying to ask or say. So it was a little bit overwhelming, but it was good. They had breakfast burritos, quesadillas, just
Mm.
a regular chicken or beef or tongue. I did not actually eat tongue, but if you're
You've
not sure what
already
I'm
checked
referring
that one
to,
off.
yeah,
Yeah, you're good.
yeah, check out the Bolivia episode if you're not sure what I'm talking about. So all kinds of different meats you could get in burritos and quesadillas and different Mexican sodas. So that was really good. Like I said, just maybe be prepared with what you want to get so you don't have to ask any questions. That could maybe ease things up a little bit. And then moving on to San Antonio, the Market Square, like I said, had some food there. And we ate at Mi Tierra restaurant, which is right in the Market Square. They had authentic Mexican food, and they had mariachi band that would come and play at your table,
Ooh.
which be prepared for as well because we thought it was they play a song and you leave a tip kind of thing. But the guy's like, no, $10.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we're like, "Oh,
dear.
shoot, we're trapped now." So it was cool, we paid the $10, of course, then he's played a song, but then it's also kinda like a ripoff because the rest of the restaurant is hearing your music, and you just paid
Right.
$10 for everyone else to hear the mariachi band.
Everyone should pay you $10 then, and you make a profit.
That's what I'm saying. But it did make up for it because the next day we had lunch along the Riverwalk at Casa Rio. Again, Mexican food. And it's the oldest restaurant on the river. It has a bunch of colorful umbrellas. And you get to sit like right on the river pretty much.
Mm.
And they also had mariachi, but the table behind us had got the mariachi band, so we were fully enjoying the free
There you
experience
go.
that
Really
time.
getting your money's worth.
Yes, we sure did. So yeah, a lot of great Mexican food. And then we had smoke barbecue sky bar barbecue. They had outdoor dining, they had a sports bar, music, and they're open daily from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. They also have like a rooftop bar that you can go to. Like a really nice grassy, maybe turf, it might actually been turf, area with picnic benches, tables. They weren't playing live music when we were there, but they have like a little stage for live music. So I'm sure past dinner time, we were there at dinner time. I'm sure after dinner time, it really comes alive. I would have loved to have gone back. We just didn't have enough time. But the smoke barbecue, Sky Bar, really good barbecue. I had jalapeno sausage there.
Ooh,
Very good.
oh, that sounds amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was very, very good. And then keeping with the barbecue theme, I was so good. I left a Wanderlusting Wives sticker there. So if you are ever in
Hey.
Austin and are at Terry Black's barbecue, look for the Wanderlusting Wives sticker there. But it was the best barbecue, with Bucky's coming in a close second. Maybe that's offensive to Terry's barbecue. Sorry if you're listening. But it was the best barbecue of the trip outside of Bucky's. I will say, though, it is a little bit expensive. There was 5 of us, and it was about $130. So be prepared for that. You do get like a meat and then 2 sides. So like if you want a coleslaw, corn, mac and cheese, the standard. One thing that I thought was kind of weird that was offered at a lot of barbecue places was a slice of white bread.
Yeah, okay. What's the deal with that? Because there was a place that opened that is by Nolan's parents' house, and when they first opened, they were doing white bread, and we were like, What the heck is this? That's a Texas thing then."
Yeah, it must be because we're like, I mean, not that I
Oh.
eat it, but we're like, where's the cornbread? Like,
Yeah, what
that's
is
what we're
white
used to
bread?
having. Yeah, so I'm like, no, I don't want a piece of white bread with no butter.
Yeah, what are you gonna do with that? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but it was also a place that had a line out the door. It moved fairly quickly. You can also get alcohol while you're in line, so that might make it less painful of a wait. And then they have like the sides station first. They're like it's like a cafeteria almost. You like tell them like, okay, I want this, and they like plop it into the container, and then they give you a tray that you move along to, and then you go up to like the counter where the cashier is, and there's like a guy or a girl slicing the meat that you want. So they had like ribs. They had like pulled pork. I also had jalapeno cheese sausage there.
Mm.
Some brisket sandwiches. So they cut it right there, right off like the slab of meat right in front of you. They weigh it, and then you pay right there. I will say, if you are interested in getting the sausage, the skin is a bit tougher to like chew. So if you're not really into that kind of type of sausage, maybe go for something like the ribs or a pulled pork sandwich. But it tasted really good if you can get past having a little bit of like a tougher skin, that is a little bit harder to chew. But it was phenomenal. They have a whole separate like building just for the smokers. It was
Mm.
insane, phenomenal, worth the wait in line. And like I said, it is a bit pricier, so just be a little bit prepared for that.
Mm. Sounds amazing. Sign me up.
Yeah. It was so good. And then Nate's uncle used to live in Austin, so he recommended a pizza place for us. So that was like a nice little like break from Tex-Mex barbecue, and it's called Home Slice Pizza. And they have New York style pizza. They have subs, salads, calzones, and you can get like a whole pizza, or you can get just a slice of pizza on like a paper plate, like you would when I went to get like the dollar slices in New York
Mm.
City, like that kind of ordeal. And you can sit down, or they have another place like right next to each other where it's also like carry out if you don't want to sit down in the restaurant.
Mm.
So that was a nice break from that. And then we had after Baylor, in between Baylor and going to the Dr. Pepper Museum, we had Dave's Hot Chicken, which was a like fast food chain. It's almost, to me, I had gone to Nashville earlier this summer, so it almost reminded me of like a Hattie B's, but more of like a Cajun flavor than like a spicy hot chicken. Definitely recommend stopping there. It comes with a side of pickles, like
Yes, please.
yeah.
Oh, I have one. Like,
Oh,
we have them in Florida. Like, I have one
okay.
10 minutes from me. I need to go.
Yeah, definitely recommend. It's really good. Um, and then there was this cute little place by our Airbnb. We were close to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium as well as the Rangers Globe Life Stadium. And we went to Bodacious Barbecue. And according to them, you would never know when we were there, but according to them, when it's football season, they sell out before like lunchtime. People get there like 6 a.m. waiting to get the barbecue, and it was a very large place. We were the only ones in there, and this was like true cafeteria style. Like they had like the metal bars that you like slide your trays across. I felt
Oh
like I
my
was back in like
gosh.
elementary school.
Waiting to
But yeah,
get
you can get
smiley fries.
yeah, exactly. You can get all kinds of different things: brisket sandwiches, pulled pork sandwiches. I think they also had ribs there, brisket, all kinds of things, and then of course they had like a bunch of sides. But yeah, it's like you go up to the counter, get your tray, slide it across, and then you go sit down at your table. It was good. Not my favorite barbecue that I had, but if you're in that area, maybe if you're going to see a baseball or football game, check that out. Super, super nice people working there. The lady offered to take like a picture of our family with the
Oh, I
bodacious
love that.
barbecue sign. So yeah, just some real nice Southern charm and family run business. So can't go wrong with that. And then we had to round out our trip with Jeremiah's ice cream.
Yes, you
So
did. Yes, you did.
this might not sound like a big deal to other people who live near Jeremiah's, but living in Pennsylvania, the closest one is North Carolina, and I had come up with this obsession of Jeremiah's ice cream after visiting Regan and Nolan in Florida. And we drove 20 minutes outside of Dallas to get Jeremiah's ice cream. It was so good, just as good as I remembered, and worth the 20-minute drive.
Yes, yes, it is. It's worth my, like, 3-minute drive. So, I guess it would only that statement would only work if it was like, "Oh, it's worth my 23-minute drive." But no, I'm so glad that you introduced your family to Jeremiah's.
Yes, it was so good. So, so, so good.
Oh my gosh. Now I just want barbecue. I just want brisket. Someone give me brisket. I want like burnt tips. I want all the things like mac and cheese. Ah, give it to me. Sounds
Mhm.
amazing. Mm.
So, so, so good. The food was phenomenal. I didn't have a single bad meal there, so food scene in Texas is yeah, it's amazing. Definitely worth having some barbecue, Tex-Mex, and driving to the closest Jeremiah's.
Ooh, always. Well, Allie, my gosh, I feel like we could plan an entire, like, I could plan an entire Texas trip right now because you gave me like an itinerary. So, everybody, like, take notes. This sounds like an awesome trip, and Allie just gave you so much to be thinking about. Is there anything else you want to share before we sign off for today?
I think that's it. Just like I said, be prepared for the weather. Maybe don't go in the thick of the summer, but if you do, just be prepared. Stay hydrated. Eat all the food, worry about your diet when you get home because it is worth trying every barbecue Tex-Mex place you see.
Mm.
You will not be disappointed. So feel free to go to Texas, but if you're going to go, make sure you go to Buc-ee's because no trip to Texas is complete without a trip to Buc-ee's.
That sounds like as good a note as any to end this on. So, Allie, thank you, and we'll catch you all next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. Come escape with us again every other Tuesday for Travel Tuesdays.
Don't forget to give us a subscribe and a follow on all of our social media and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until next time, wander on.